Hello everyone and welcome to Medicated Housewife DIY, where crafting and mental health come together. My name is Sarah. Today's DIY video is a Valentine's DIY using Dollar Tree Jenga blocks and other Dollar Tree supplies. Love is in the air and we are loving our Tumbling Tower Block Hearts. So stick around and let's go make some stuff and jump right into this. In today's DIY video, we are making Valentine's Day Decor Hearts out of Dollar Tree Jenga blocks, or the Tumbling Tower blocks, and some other Dollar Tree supplies. These hearts are super easy and super adorable for Valentine's Day, or even your everyday decor. To get started, I printed out some multi-sized heart templates that I found on a Google search, and I don't want to link directly to this one because I don't have permission to do so, but they are easy enough to find if you Google free heart printables. This first one is a 5-inch heart template. I assemble the Jenga blocks standing up vertically, and I'm basically using them to trace the heart template. And I guess this is kind of like cheating, but making a heart shape just seemed a lot easier this way, so I won't tell if you don't tell. I'm using the super glue wood glue from Dollar Tree to glue each Jenga block to the one next to it. And I'm trying not to use too much glue on each block because I will be painting these later, and these blocks look a lot better painted if you don't have giant globs of glue all over them. Now, I said I tried not to use too much glue, but there was some extra glue in some spots, but you can always sand those down after the glue is dry later. And just a note here, we are making hearts, and hearts are rounded, but Jenga blocks are rectangles with straight lines and corners, so we are creating a slightly rounded look with these blocks. We all know that we can't make these blocks smoothly rounded, but I feel like these hearts are pretty heart-like anyway. And I think your eyes kind of gloss over some of those awkward gaps or angles in the heart shape. So it all works out in the end. I mean, I could be wrong, but you can let me know in the comments if you disagree. But I think we are able to achieve a pretty obvious heart shape here. Once my glue is dry, I'm using my Waverly white chalk paint and a dry brush to paint the heart. And I do want to see the white color on the heart, but I'm only going to do one coat, and it's not a real thorough coat. It's kind of like a rough coat because I would like to still be able to see the wood grain underneath. You don't have to do it this way. You could make a solid coat. It's really, that's totally up to you. There's no rules with this. It's all however you like it. Once the Waverly white chalk paint, which I will link below, is dry, I picked up this FolkArt acrylic paint in the color Seashell pink, which I will also link below. Now you can see there was a really bright pink acrylic paint that I had from Dollar Tree that I was initially going to use, but I painted a little of that on the inside of the heart. I don't even know if you can see it, but I did not like that at all. It was very neon, and it just didn't scream out Valentine's and romance to me, so I switched to the Seashell pink. And I only did a rough coat of the white paint, but I used even less of the pink. I wanted the heart to have like a whisper of pink, if that makes any sense. I just didn't want the pink to be overwhelming. I just wanted like a slight hint of pink. Why am I whispering? I don't even know. I used a pencil to trace the inside and the outside of my Jenga block heart onto a piece of white foam board from Dollar Tree, and I used my X-Acto knife to cut the heart out. And I cut the line that was somewhere between the inner and the outer line that I drew with the pencil because this will be the bottom of the heart, but I didn't want to be able to see the sides of the foam board, so I didn't want to cut the outside line, if that makes any sense. I cut a piece of burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree and I formed a loop to be sort of like a handle at the top of the heart, although not really a functional handle. It's just decorative. And I used my Gorilla Hot Glue to glue it down onto the foam board. I glued that down before attaching the board to the heart. And frankly, you can also glue this burlap to the back of the heart as well, but since I knew you weren't going to be able to see the inside of the heart when I was finished, I just glued it to the front. You can do it either way, whatever you want. And after that, I glued the Jenga block heart onto the foam board with the loop on it. And I also used hot glue for this. I got these bright pink roses from Dollar Tree, and full disclosure, this color rose was far from my first choice, but I went to 3 different Dollar Trees and only one of them had any roses left, and the only one left was this hot pink color. So I had no choice but to go with that. If I could do it again, I would opt for a nice soft pink or a peachy pink, I think, and you might want to go that route too. It is so frustrating to not be able to find all these great things some of you are able to get at your local Dollar Trees. I don't know if it's just my area or what, but our Dollar Trees, especially lately, are really, really sparse. Even the seasonal items. Let me know in the comments if you've been having this issue too in your own area. I used a wire cutter to snip the rosebuds off the stems, and I ended up trimming them even shorter than this, and I ended up cutting up 2 bunches of the roses. I also pulled some of the leaves off to use later. I used hot glue to attach the bottom buds of the roses to the bottom of the Jenga block heart, but before I did that, I wanted to add a little Valentine's flair to this heart, and since my Dollar Tree had no Valentine's stuff, I dug into my scary hoarder's crafting stash and found a bunch of these little gold rhinestone love charms from like circa 2012. When I made a lot of bracelets. So I used the wire cutter and I snipped off the loops on the top of the love charm, hot glued a couple of the leftover green leaves together, and then hot glued the love charm to the top of the leaves to use this as like an accent for my very bright pink roses. And this is how my first Jenga block heart turned out. I think this pink heart is super cute. I did end up using a pink ribbon and hot gluing it around the outside of the heart. I think the love charm gives it a little bit of a I Love Lucy kind of retro flair, and I am probably dating myself with that. But I do feel like this pink heart is a pretty classic kind of Valentine. A little shabby chic, and if I had lighter color roses, it would be even more shabby chic. All in all, a super cute Valentine. For Jenga block heart number 2, I'm using the same 5-inch heart template, and this time I'm using my instant coffee stained Jenga blocks because I wanted that nice light chestnutty kind of color. I did this one the same way, outlining the 5-inch heart with the blocks and then using the super glue wood glue to attach the blocks to each other, then letting this fully dry. I traced the heart inside and outside onto a piece of foam board, and I cut it out the same way we did with the first heart. This time I used my Waverly antique wax, which I'll link below for you, and painted the foam board a similar brown color as the Jenga blocks, making sure that I painted the sides of the foam board as well in case they're visible under the Jenga blocks. So while the antique wax is drying, I grabbed this faux leather repair tape. You've seen me use it before on one of the decorative pumpkins from my Halloween I Hate Pumpkins video. If you haven't seen it, I will leave a link for it below. What it is basically is brown leather looking duct tape. It's very sticky duct tape. It comes on a roll just like tape. I got it at Amazon and I'll link it in the description box below, but I initially had gotten it because I couldn't find the faux leather ribbon that everyone was talking about at Dollar Tree because my Dollar Tree never got it, but I don't want to dwell. I got this tape and I am very happy with it. So my idea was to use the tape like a piece of leather wrapped around the brown Jenga block heart and to make a loop like a handle at the top of the heart like we did with the burlap on the pink heart. So I wrestled a bit with this tape, but I cut some strips that were a little wider than 1/2 inch, and I ended up folding the tape over onto itself. Even though I then needed to glue it down instead of using the adhesive back, I think it was easier and better and more leather looking if it was just doubled over and I used it sort of like a ribbon rather than tape. I also used the same folded over tape to make the loop at the top of the heart. I took the leather ribbon and I used some small dabs of hot glue to wrap it around the middle of the outside of my heart, going right down the middle. And then I glued my leather loop to the foam board bottom before gluing the bottom onto the heart. Then I grabbed some moss from Dollar Tree and used some hot glue to attach the moss down the entire bottom of the heart. before attaching some Dollar Tree succulents that I had on hand. And this is how my second Dollar Tree Jenga Block Heart turned out. I really like this one. It's a little more rustic. The succulents and the leather make it a little earthy looking, and honestly, the leather wrapped around the brown Jenga blocks totally reminds me of one of those old wine barrels that people make tables out of and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm talking about? Let me know in the comments if you agree. I don't know why, but I really like this Jenga Block Heart, even for just everyday decor. For my third Jenga Block Heart, I'm using the coffee stained blocks again, but this time I'm using a larger heart template. I think this one was about 6 inches instead of 5. And instead of the blocks being attached side to side, these are attached back to back. So we're using a lot more blocks for this one, but the end result should make for a little sturdier, a little stronger heart. And I traced the heart the same way with the blocks, and I used the same wood glue to glue all of these blocks to each other, just trying to keep my rounded heart shape intact. After the wood glue dried, I did run a generous amount of Gorilla Hot Glue onto the back of the entire heart, just to reinforce it even more and to try to keep it together. So we're not making a back for this heart. My idea was to make this a little mini shelf, and not the kind of shelf that I'd recommend hanging, because that's a lot of stress to put on these Jenga blocks. They're only held together by glue. But I was aiming for more of like a little leaning heart shelf. So I took 8 additional Jenga blocks and 1 jumbo craft stick. I hot glued the blocks to the craft stick and trimmed the ends of the craft stick. Then I found a place inside the heart where this little shelf that we're making could be pretty much level, where it would fit in a straight line, and I used some wood glue to attach it to the inside of our heart. I also took 2 additional Jenga blocks and glued them to either side of that inside shelf just to reinforce that. And this is how Jenga Block Heart number 3 turned out. I love this cute little shelf. Okay, it's not a fully functional shelf that you can hang on the wall, but you can lean it with support, and it's so darn cute. I love it. It's a little modern or minimalist. It's just clean looking and nice. Also, would work for everyday decor. And this is all 3 of my Dollar Tree Jenga Block Valentine Hearts. I think these are all cute and all different. The pink is a classic Valentine, the brown with the leather is rustic and earthy, and the mini shelf is clean and modern. 3 different looks for Valentine's Day and beyond, all using Dollar Tree Jenga blocks and other Dollar Tree supplies. Let me know in the comments what you think and which is your favorite. I hope you enjoyed this Medicated Housewife DIY, and if you did, please consider liking and subscribing for more fun, easy, and beautiful DIYs. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm the Medicated Housewife, and crafting is my medication.